Welcome everyone to another episode of A Founder's Journey into Bitcoin. And today we are very lucky to be joined by Diego May. He is a co-founder and COO of BitFlow, a revolutionary new exchange right on Bitcoin layer 1, where you can exchange stablecoins for Bitcoin. And if you're a liquidity provider, you earn native Bitcoin yield. So this is a game changer. But before we get into that, let's welcome Diego up. Hi, Diego.
How you doing, Albert? It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, thanks for spending some time with our audience today. And as I understand it, Miami Week was just not too long ago, and you guys were the founding hosts, right? Founding sponsors of the Ordinals 2023, the first ever offline Ordinals conference, right? How did that go? How'd that go?
I mean, it was a tremendous success. I mean, sold out event. It was a very intimate space, but we were able to get really like top builders, projects, collections, and investors that are really pioneering this new space. I mean, when we started planning for the event 3 months ago in parallel to Miami Bitcoin Week, we were around just like, tens of thousands of inscriptions. And by last Thursday, when the event happened on May 18, we had 7 million inscriptions and, over $300 million on BRC20s, which was, just 5 weeks old. So it was impressive. It was great. We were able to ride this sort of fast and chaotic movement and really get a lot of people that were excited for what's to come on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a great thing that you're doing, helping the not just the Ordinals movement advance, but also the Bitcoin Renaissance advance, right? You guys had a lot of I would say the innovators and the market leaders in the Ordinal space at that event. Who was all there?
Yeah, so we had, we had over 9 panels, but it was everything from marketplaces like Jamil with Gamma. We had John Enos from NeoSwap, Elizabeth from Xverse. We had, Jack from OrdSwap. We also went into Core Protocol. Denny Hoop of On-Chain Monkeys was there. Cypher, Raf, these are like core protocol builders and contributors to New Ordinals and the Bitcoin space in general. We also had, of course, collections, Eric Wall and Udi from Taproots. We all know them. Those were also awesome. Brian from Satoshibles and most lately Ordinals Bot. Jan from Xverse. And it was a good mix. I mean, it was a lot of serious talks like layers and protocols. We had awesome talk, for example, with Stackathrum. He's very active in our community. Bob from Bionic, like different marketplaces. And then the investment, also VCs, investments in research. We have Alex Torn from Galaxy, Christopher Berger from Gossamer, of course, T.O. Trevor from Bitcoin Frontier, Nick Carter at Castle Island Ventures. And it was good to see how these investors are looking for the next Bitcoin startup. But overall, it was a good mix, mining, protocol, collections. We also presented a hackathon. And overall, it was a great day. I mean, there was a lot of excitement in the room. And we saw how, speed and adoption, and I think being ready to market was essential. I mean, a lot of stacks, applications that we know, Xverse, Gamma, NeoSwap, Hero, they were all there because they were able to move fast and adopt to the Ordinals demand. So that was awesome to see.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Sounds like you had all the key players there. Basically the spirit tip of the entire Ordinals movement was there. And you also mentioned a few founders who started Ethereum, but now they're in a big way pioneering on Bitcoin. Like, for example, On-Chain Monkeys, right? They actually I think they were doing Bitcoin stuff before, but then because of smart contracts and NFTs, they also had a success in Ethereum, and now they're coming back to Bitcoin, right, with Ordinals. And it seems like that's sort of like the theme. I also noticed a lot of investors who had done very well in Ethereum DeFi and NFT booms, and they're like, "Oh, I think I saw this pattern before on Ethereum, but now it's happening on Bitcoin. It's going to be bigger, right?" They're actually more hungry than like say people who have been in Bitcoin for longer. But which was interesting to see, which just shows that hey, it's heating up. When people from even the Ethereum camp are coming over, you know that there's the perfect storm is brewing. And it's an exciting time. And
It,
can you comment on, what I noticed was I noticed that from even like 6 months ago, there like people's imaginations have really opened up on what could be done or what they want to try on Bitcoin. Right? What did you like what is this was your event and you guys also had a hackathon there, right? Like what was your take on that event?
I agree. I mean, I think what Ornos did to Bitcoin was it made it more accessible to people that are outside the Bitcoin space. Ethereum developers, Solana developers, Sovereign. I mean, the other, Bitcoin side chains, stacks. A lot of people coming from different protocols, different chains, and different applications, and different, marketplaces that were like, okay, this is the next big thing. What can we do on it? And also the community was very welcoming, right? Which is different from a lot of the Bitcoin maxis out there. And I think that's what kind of created this perfect melting pot where everybody was talking about Bitcoin. It wasn't like Ethereum people trying to take over Bitcoin Miami. It wasn't, it was just very collaborative, very constructive. And everyone was like, okay, we can, if we did this on Ethereum, if we did this on Solana, then we can replicate on Bitcoin. And I think that's what is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it was very positive, right? And I'm lucky to be fairly new to the space because I haven't run into any like very toxic maxis. In fact, when I went to Austin and now Miami, what I noticed that is almost like the maxi camp like exploded into a rainbow, meaning that you still have like the diehards, but they're a very small percentage and decreasing percentage, whereas most of them are actually like exploring the innovation that's happening on Bitcoin, right? Because I mean, don't we want to have a decentralized financial ecosystem with Bitcoin at the core that could give you native Bitcoin yield? I think that's sort of like the holy grail, right? If we could do that, then it becomes finally a viable banking alternative, right?
Right. And
Right.
it's
I mean,
also playing the infrastructure. We're so early that we need everything. We need, decentralized identity. We need ZK type of protocol, zero knowledge. We need, different layers to build on top. We need payment gateways. We need on and off ramp. We need stable coins. We need banking on Bitcoin. There's a lot that needs to be built that I would consider low hanging fruits that may be, outside the radar, but would contribute to Bitcoin DeFi. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I mean, everything you just said there is a startup idea, right? And we have a lot more opportunities than startup founders on Bitcoin right now. So it really is a blue ocean. I think it's not going to last though. It's going to become a land grab, right? This whole year. And for those people like you at Bitflow, right? You guys at Bitflow, you guys have a huge competitive advantage because when the next Bitcoin halving happens in next April, most of the land will have been claimed and staked. So people getting in now, people watching this video or listening to the Twitter space is your chance to take the plunge. But before we dive into the Bitflow, Diego, what were you doing before this? As I recall, you're a serial entrepreneur. When did you start? When did you have your first side hustle? Was it like when you were a teenager or
how,
like
how far
start
far
start
do
start from the beginning. Start from the beginning, man.
I think making money, maybe I was 12, 13. This was 96, 97. I learned how to code and do websites. back then Google, it was a simple like indexing. You would create a website, go to Google, index the title, name, category, and I was showing up in a bunch of first page on Google with a bunch of cool websites. And a lot of these are kind of hobbies. Like my favorite soccer team in Brazil, I created their first website. It became the most popular website like for a few years. And then, people saw that I was the kid behind the computer creating websites. And then, friends of the family started asking me, hey, I need a website for my business. They were hearing about Amazon and Yahoo and Google. And then I think I was 13 that I started making money doing e-commerce development. And back then was super hard, but it was a good segue to what I did after, which then I went to college and got my marketing and advertising degree and opened a marketing agency. But I think those years were key, and like it was stuff that I was doing because I loved and because I knew how to do it, and it was nice getting paid. So imagine like you're 14, 15, 16, you're in high school, most people are taking these weird side jobs, and I was just coming back home making money with graphic, video, and web design and doing business cards for people. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. So it was an easy decision when I got to college and secondary education. So yeah, so that was, I think, the beginning of my hustle. I think from the beginning I decided never to work for other people. So my last boss was probably like a restaurant I worked when I was 15. And then since then I've been my own.
Thanks for sharing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you started building websites for other people when you're 12 and 13. Can I ask you how much you charged back then? This is what, 1996?
Yeah, I mean, it was anywhere from $300 to $1,000. I remember, I think that in first e-commerce I did, someone wanted to sell graduation rings. He actually sold graduation rings, but he wasn't online. And I remember that PayPal just came out with a pay button, and I was super excited, like being able to add that pay button in HTML so people get paid. But yeah, it was like anywhere from like $300 to $1,000. And a lot of these people like, I want a website, but then they didn't have a brand, they didn't have a logo. So I was also doing that, and then doing their business cards. And back then it was like 3, 4, 5 weeks for business cards to get printed. They were super expensive. But yeah, that was the beginning of my entrepreneur career.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's not bad money for a kid, right? Not bad money.
Not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
I know. I've done a lot of research into entrepreneurs, and a lot of the all-time greats, they all had like some kind of side hustle when they're like around 12 or 13. So you definitely fit into the mold, and that's also why you're able to make it through the gauntlet. For our audience, like is like an inside terminology for the Bitcoin Startup Lab, right? Because a lot of people come in and only the strongest teams emerge on the other side, transformed and stronger. Yeah, so you did that with flying colors. Okay, great. So let's fast forward. So after actually before we fast forward, I'm curious. Like you're doing websites when you're 12 and 13, and then you worked at a restaurant when you're 15. That was something I've always wanted to do, but I never did it. But so you're an entrepreneur first, and then you work for somebody. It's like that's very different, right? Work
Yeah,
at a restaurant,
it
which is
was.
like very structured, right?
It
Very
was,
traditional.
it was a good contrast. I mean, it was like, maybe 3 or 4 times a week I would go into a busboy at a restaurant and, a couple of franchises. And I hated I hated so much. It wasn't the restaurant stuff. I really liked restaurants and I hope to open my own one day. It was just like having this boss around and having to like clock in and clock out. And I think that was my last boss. It was probably, that franchise manager that I still remember their name. It was good because all the high school kids were there. It was like neighborhood type of restaurant. It was nice. It was cash money. Going home with $150 a day. It's not bad. I was buying my own car, paying for my own clothes, doing my own stuff. After 15, I don't think my parents ever, paid anything else for me. Buying my own phone. So it was good. I mean, it was something that I felt comfortable doing. And I knew that wherever I land in the world, I would be able to get a job and do something and work and hustle, even if I wasn't doing my own business. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's very different, right? Like when you're doing websites, you sort of, it's case by case basis, whereas there is like some kind of a sense of security of just going to the restaurant and knowing that, hey, at the end of the day, there's going to be cash for sure. But it's very interesting because for entrepreneur, that's not what is most important. It's more like, hey, do I have the freedom to explore my passions and then create something of value and then get paid for it, right? So
Exactly.
it's a very different mentality, but it's
Yeah.
good. It's
Also
that
like
you have.
having that money to buy equipment, buying a graphic cards, buying a video camera, buying a mixer so that I could do videos, buying my own stuff. And I think that's also something I was feeding. I was like, I knew what that money was coming in for, right? I wasn't spending with, partying. It was like, okay, I can buy a better computer, I can buy a better screen, I can buy, this that I can. And a lot of the stuff that I bought through high school, I took it over to college and it helped me start my first business. So my first like incorporated business, right? With
What
two.
was your first business incorporated?
So it was the agency Busula, which is we started as a digital marketing studio, sort of creative agency, 2007 to 8. We were junior years in college, and we had a couple projects that we met clients, and the clients kind of demanded like trade show materials. We did that, and then they hire us again, and then they said, hey, you guys want to work for our trade show next year? We need this is our budget. And that was the biggest budget of my life. I was like, wow, I'm going to be rich doing this. And that's when a friend of ours said, you guys should incorporate, do it legally. There's also a university space that you can do startups, that you can use their computer, that you can use their address. So it was like it was called an incubator. So we joined the incubator, we applied, and then from that point on, junior year of college, senior year of college, and the agency still has been running for almost 13, 14 years now. I have two partners in Brazil. We grew to different areas, from marketing consulting to three different companies, events, and then advertising kind of died down for us, and we became more focused on marketing consulting, and marketing technology is my main area of expertise today. And that has been, since I finished college, I was already in the business. I was already, doing my 9 to 5 and already working and doing business development and wearing a bunch of hats and learning how to do finance and learning how to do operation and paying employees. We got to about 40 employees in-house by 2016. And then agency format over the world started changing, remote, more niche. We started hiring studios. And we're still running up to this day.
Yeah, nice. So it's very interesting. So eventually, I mean, a few months ago, you guys started BitFlow. Like, how was it? Because I mean, it's a pretty big decision, right? To leave a cash generating business that I've been running for, it sounds like almost like over 10 years now, and then go into something that's more like a startup, which is much in the beginning, right? You're not so certain what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. Well, I also got to a point where I was comfortably financially speaking, and my marketing technology background and e-commerce and all these Web2 tools, it's something that I've always been following very closely. And then in 2017, when I got started investing into Web3 or crypto, I've always wanted to make that jump. And then I think it was 2019, we started getting a few clients in the NFT space. I didn't even know what NFTs were. And this was the beginning of maybe 2020. We started doing projects for NFTs, websites, branding, all this stuff. And these guys were selling like 6,000, $1.2 million of NFTs. And I'm like, what is this market? Like, what is this? I'm just holding a bag here of, coins. And these guys are making money with art. which was something that, being in the advertising industry was like, this is going to blow up. This is going to be huge. And from the NFTs, I was in Miami at that time already. And then I heard about Miami Coin through the Stacks ecosystem. And from that point on, it connected me to Stacks, and I said, "Oh, okay, there's a possibility here." I started meeting builders that were doing more stuff outside the NFT space, and I said, "You know what? I want to make this jump. I want to go into Web3. I want to create some startup." And I think when I joined your pre-accelerator, I didn't know exactly what, but I knew I wanted to do something in Web3. I knew it was something regarding payments. I came in with City Packs, which was an NFT project that we raised money from Miami public school kids. And I wanted to maybe take that further, but I wanted to help institutions or nonprofits send and receive Bitcoin, right? And that was the problem that I was trying to solve. It was like payments, on and off ramping, because I was having those pains with trying to pay or trying to donate crypto from my NFT sales to the Miami public school system or to the nonprofits that run with them. And from that point on, that's when, joined the pre-accelerator. And, and then the story is basically went through some grueling weeks of learning how to fail very quickly, testing, validating ideas, and found out that maybe the learning curve for these nonprofits was very long. They were not ready yet to go into that. There wasn't a big market. And then met, of course, with Dylan, my co-founder of Bitflow. It was also in the DeFi space, so we kind of matched. I started helping Dylan in his presentations and website, and then we got to a point where I said, you know what? Why don't we just join forces and we get this off the ground? Stable coins, payment, it's something I'm very interested in, and I think we can make it happen. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great how it happened organically. I mean, that's the Bitcoin Startup Lab is definitely not for everyone. Not everyone makes it through. You're very resilient. You made a lot of friends, right? You found your co-founder, and I mean, I think it's sort of like a second chance, right? To restart your entrepreneur journey, because I noticed a lot of success cases is like the co-founder is usually found either as your university friends, right? Or you work together, right? There's an environment where you guys can organically get to know each other and test each other out, almost like test drive or battle test each other, right? And so the Bitcoin Startup Lab was designed and is still offering the service, right, to give you guys an environment to meet each other and see who fits, right? And I'm happy to let the audience know that you guys were one of the top teams, and now you guys got into the accelerator, and you guys are the first DEX trading stable swap with Bitcoin, right? So this is all really exciting stuff. But before we get into that, which is really the main event of this talk, what was your first taste or first interaction with Bitcoin, right? What was like that first thing that got you into Bitcoin? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I think it was like in 2017 when I felt that I missed the Bitcoin train because I didn't invest in early. So I bought XRP, and then in 2018 the ICOs, I bought a bunch of these tokens that went to zero, and it took me back to Bitcoin. And I'm like, I looked at it, I was like, I should have bought Bitcoin in 2017 instead of the other tokens. And because I lost money in the other tokens, I'm like, what is the most secure? And then you start learning about decentralization, and you start learning about what is an actual like stable asset, what is an algorithm asset, what is this, what is that, what is governance token. So like at the beginning, it was just icons that we were buying, and we're like, oh, this token is coming up, and some did well, like Polygon. I was able to get in early in Polygon in 2018. And I still hold it to this day, but a lot of them went to zero, as you know. So when I lost money, I got really pissed off, and I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to buy Bitcoin and a little bit of Ethereum, the two biggest projects were market cap. I'm not going to be like trying to hit a home run. I'm just going to go back to the solid foundation. One, we have a centralized blockchain protocol that is proven, that is doing great products. And on the other hand, we have the largest, the most decentralized, trustless, permissionless protocol. And, and that is going to go somewhere. So that was like my first experience was like, I think getting burned with other protocols. So
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that. Okay, so let's jump into Bitcoin. Let's jump into how Bitflow is innovating on Bitcoin. You sort of alluded that when you decided you're going to build something in Web3, you had another idea, and then finally you pivoted. You joined forces with Dylan, right? And you guys created Bitflow together. Can you share with the audience what the first killer feature is?
Yeah, I think that came from the customer interviews that we did through the pre-accelerator that validated that people wanted to earn a yield and wanted to participate in Bitcoin and DeFi with their Bitcoin and not something else. They wanted the real yield, but there was no safe or easy way to earn a yield on Bitcoin. And that's what brought us to stable swaps, because stable swaps such as Curve on Ethereum allows you to earn real yield. You put USDT, USDC, or DAI, you get that back, the same underlying token. And because we were so close to layer one, we said, we could replicate this, but instead of, getting a governance token, you can get Bitcoin, you can get your Bitcoin yield, you can, do stable swaps. And the reward could be Bitcoin. So how do we prepare? How do we create the infrastructure to get us to that point? And that was still like SBTC was still an idea. I think we're very close to that now. I think that was the biggest validation. And just users have different preferences for stable assets. I think it's going to be years until maybe the US dollar is not as important, but right now it is. People do pay and receive based on a fiat currency. We saw how big stable assets were becoming, even in the bear market the last couple of years. Stable coins have continued to grow. There's a large demand from Circle and Tether, and most of these customers are actually institutions that need to send money across seas, and they need to pay employees in payroll in multiple countries, and they have tens and hundreds of thousands of employees, and stable assets permit that. It is the first, what I call RWA, or real world assets, that's tokenized. Like you're basically tokenizing the US dollars or US Treasury bonds. And I think that's also where we're going. We haven't even tapped like the financial products that exist in the market today. Like we're starting to see some mortgage experimentations, some other assets like painting and gold being tokenized. But I think everything's a lot of the most important value stuff is going to get tokenized. And when it does, you need those sort of stable swaps and those stable coins to make payments and to receive and to send. And that's where we are with Bitflow. So recently we did see, a lot of, inscriptions and ordinals and BRC20 making big waves in the mempool. And that's just a sign that people are hungry to bring their money and to earn and to participate in DeFi and Bitcoin. And we're building network worlds to get them there.
That is super exciting. I mean, if the DeFi landscape on Bitcoin is anything like Ethereum, then stable coins, stable swaps is one of the pillars, right, for that DeFi ecosystem to run. And as you said, this is just the beginning as we unlock more of the traditional financial use cases and products. So yeah, this is super exciting. Finally, right? Finally, we're building the foundation of a truly decentralized financial ecosystem on top of Bitcoin, and the people who provide liquidity can get native Bitcoin back as a yield, and that's also a game changer. I think that's one of the holy grails, right? Of doing DeFi is if you can get that native Bitcoin yield back. No more BlockFi, no more like Celsius, no more
Yeah,
of these centralized pseudo Web3 products, right? We
yeah.
finally can. Yeah, this is really exciting. So can you for the users out there, right, or for the audience, when can they start using this product? When is uh you know what is what's the alpha on this?
Yeah, so we finished testnet. We are having a private mainnet soft launch right now, and in just less than 2 weeks, we hope we're going to have the public mainnet open to everyone, public access with Arcadico, USDA, and SUSDT. That's going to be our second pair. We launched a testnet with XUSD as well as UU and SUSDT, which just came out on the Alex bridge. And that's going to be the first pair and the first product, the stable swap. We look at the stable swap as a key infrastructure for any DeFi ecosystem, because not only we're allowing users to trade, but we're also allowing protocols to build on top of BitFlow, right? Not only we're
Nice.
open source, but we're going to be open the front end and the back end, allowing protocols to leverage the BitFlow liquidity. We call that the liquidity infrastructure provider, or liquidity as a service. So it allows you to bring in your protocol, bring in your governance tokens, leverage the liquidity of these stable assets, which are lower risk. There's low risk of impermanent loss because you're trading same price assets, and also expanding to different versions of BTC. So we're going to have SBTC, native BTC swaps, as well as different versions of wrapped Bitcoin. So people would have different preferences, but at the end of the day, you're going to be able to claim all your rewards at Bitcoin or in any of those assets, always giving you back real yield. And that's very important for protocols, because that's the part of that's composable, allows protocols to say, oh, if I get Bitcoin, then I can do this, right? If I get real yield, then I can do this to my users, while leveraging deeper and deeper liquidity. So the more pairs we have, the more robust and the lower slippage and the lower fees. So we're able to find a balance where we can charge what is the minimum fees for these trades, while keeping, of course, paying the bills and keeping the lights on, in a truly decentralized model, right? We have other examples like Uniswap, PancakeSwap. But if you look at Curve, there's a reason that Curve is very popular among developers and builders, is because they allow you to use those building blocks to deliver even better yield, even better products to their users. Example, Balancer, Maker, and a few others that leverage the Curve protocol to build those products. And that's what we're building, this sort of essential railroad to get us to where we're going. And that's all before SBTC is out, which is the trustless peg in and peg out Bitcoin on stacks, which is going to unlock even more features.
Yeah, that is super exciting. That's super exciting. Everything you said is going to be a game changer from what you guys are launching soon, and also what SBTC can unlock. There are in our audience, there are users, right? There are developers, there are liquidity providers, and there are investors. What do you have to say to them?
I think this is the golden opportunity. This is like the biggest opportunity in the last 5 years that we've seen in crypto. And leveraging this bear market, you're able to really solve, real pains and real problems that we've seen in other chains, but bring it home, bring it to Bitcoin. And it wasn't done on Bitcoin, not just because people didn't want to. I mean, Bitcoin is the largest market cap, but the technology wasn't there. But now we have like Taproot, and we have DLCs, we have PSBTs, partially signed Bitcoin transactions. We have Lightning, we have Stacks and SBTC. We have all of these other technologies that put together can really build a robust infrastructure. And I think that the time is now. It's like there's a lot of experimentation, and I think the first ones, it is a first mover type of opportunity. And if you're able to get your product to market and solve a real problem, and there's many, there's hundreds and thousands of problems to be solved on Bitcoin, I think it would be very successful.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. The timing is now. I feel blessed to be the first investor in BitFlow. Right. And as it goes, first mover advantage, especially in the Bitcoin DeFi space, is really important because we all know about network effects, and Web3 network effects are much more powerful than Web2. So it is important to be a first mover in this space. And also, as you mentioned, Ethereum has sort of shown us the way on what works and what doesn't work, right? And so we only had to tweak out a few things, and then we could build the same Ethereum Web3 DeFi on Bitcoin, but only bigger and better, right? On Bitcoin. So this is a game changer. If you're an investor, I would jump on this, but as I understand, you guys already have a lot of suitors, so you guys gonna have to pick and choose, right? Who you let invest this round. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
it is, and we want to work with people that actually believe in the long run and believe where Bitcoin is going. And I think Ornos and BRC20s have unlocked that. It kind of opened people's eyes and be like, oh, there's something happening here, right? And it's awesome to also to see the sort of spark of adoption with decentralized mechanism. You can't really plan where it's going to come from. It usually comes from these unexpected sources or marketplaces, and that's like culture and music and fashion and movies. And that's where we're seeing right now these meme coins and Pepe and Ortis but that's just the beginning. That's a great sign. I mean, there's $300 million of total value locked on BRC20s already, and it's just what 6 weeks old, 7 weeks. Imagine where this is going. So that's very excited for us, and we are working with some key builders in the BRC20 and Ornos ecosystem to be BRC20 composable and to be able to deliver BRC20 products that will be in demand from these users. They're going to be able to, they want to swap between BRC20s and Bitcoin. They want to possibly earn a yield on their BRC20s, even stable coins on BRCs. Why not? So, it's a wide open ocean, blue ocean of opportunities. And I feel awesome being, like really pioneering this space.
Yeah, no, you're in the right place at the right time with the right co-founder. So we're running up here on time. So before we go into the Q&A session, what do you have to say to all the entrepreneurs and founders who are on the fence right now, right? They probably feel it in their gut that it's the right time to get in, but they need that extra motivation. What do you have to say to them?
I think you try to minimize the excuses and maybe even look at your lifestyle and your bills and your subscriptions. See, what you can save so that you can maybe dedicate more time to building a new product. You don't have to start right away and quit your job, but this could be like, you come home, you have 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours at night, that's 8. If you do 6 to 10, and then you do 4 in the morning to 4 to 8 in the morning, like that's 8 hours of work that you can get done. You combine that with another person, that's 16 hours a day, and you can get a lot done. And as you prepare to take this leap into Web3, but I think the opportunity is now. It's like whoever gets there first. There's a lot of what I call copy and paste, which means like you can look at stuff that's being done on other protocols and replicate that on Bitcoin, right? Not only on DeFi, but every other application as well. Identity, NFTs, lending, art. I mean, the list goes on. So I think, take the leap, get ready and prepare like your surrounding. try to be in a comfortable place and go for it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. Thank you, Diego. Hopefully that has helped a few people join the Bitcoin Renaissance and the new Bitcoin DeFi revolution. Thank you, Diego, for joining us today.
Thank you. It's awesome being here. Appreciate it, Albert.
Likewise, likewise.